all, welcome to another week of Techy Tuesday. Today we're going to cover a topic that's been getting a lot of attention recently due to some updated regulations, and that's the National Do Not Call Registry. It is extremely important as a real estate professional that you understand why this registry exists and how you can access the information inside of it. We have found that this is a pretty confusing process for a lot of agents, and it's something that is really heavily regulated. So it's extremely important that you guys understand how to actually use the platform. So that's mainly what we're going to cover today, is how to access the Do Not Call registry. But before we do that, we need to dive into a tiny bit of a history lesson. If you do not know, TCPA, that is the laws that regulate telemarketing and sales calls. Especially if you are doing a lot of cold calling, I highly recommend that you go and do some extended research on TCPA, because we are going to barely scratch the surface in this video today. But what TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. It was passed in the early 90s in direct response to excessive telemarketing and sales calls that were happening at the time, with no way for consumers to stop those calls from coming in. So eventually, about 10 years later, we get the National Do Not Call Registry. So again, it is extremely important that you understand the foundations behind TCPA. This regulates all sales calls that you are making within your business. They've also extended it to things like texting. And recently in January, they updated the regulations. So if you are using any sort of AI, if you're using pre-recorded messages or messages that are spoken by AI, then you have to have written consent, even if the person is not on the Do Not Call registry. And the other things we want to focus on is you have to have the written consent if they are on the Do Not Call registry. So this is why we need to understand how we got here in order to be able to actually utilize it. So with the Do Not Call registry, you have access to up to 5 area codes for free. That means you can check, say we're in San Antonio, you can check 210-830. Maybe you get a lot of calls that come in from Dallas or Houston. You could put up to 5 phone area codes that you want for free. That'll provide you a list with all telephone numbers that have been registered to the Do Not Call registry. And again, it's extremely important that you have access to that information so that you are not calling somebody and potentially getting fined if they have submitted themselves to the registry. It is extremely easy for a consumer to put themselves on the registry. All they have to do is Google it, and it's as easy as just putting your phone number in and hitting submit. There is nothing else that you have to do to register for the Do Not Call registry. That does mean typically the people who are putting themselves on this registry know about the history behind it and know when you are violating it. And they can report you at any time for violating the Do Not Call registry and calling them even though they submitted their name to it. After you have chosen your 5 area codes, any additional area code that you would like to receive the list for beyond those 5 is going to cost you $80 an area code. So you have to think of this as a cost of doing business, because it is something you cannot circumvent. Another way to do this is to use a company that already scrubs the Do Not Call registry and follows TCPA compliance. There are several out there. If you need recommendations, reach out to our team and we can give you a couple. But if you are not going to partner with one of those companies, then the way that you can access is by going to telemarketing.donotcall.gov. That is the direct website to get you to this screen here, where you can either register or log into your account. When you go to register, it is going to ask you for a few items. You're going to have to fill out some account information. After you've done that, it is going to send you an email. That email you receive will then have a link that you will follow to go ahead and confirm and activate your account. Once you've activated your account, you're then going to be able to go through the process of choosing your area codes. Again, you can choose up to 5 for free. And I am not an agent, so unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to sign up and show you guys exactly step by step how that works. But the biggest thing I find is agents just don't know where to go to even access the registry. So again, it's going to be telemarketing.donotcall.gov. If you want to dive in a little bit further as to how the Do Not Call registry works exactly, then you can go to their frequently asked questions and it will open you up to tell you exactly how the process works and what you need to do in different scenarios. So again, I recommend that you go back and do some extended research through the FAQ on the Do Not Call registry website, as well as just TCPA in general. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to your team. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.